Welcome to Resourced and Resourceful Leadership, a podcast for people who care about the world and their impact in it. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Pettit. Please call me Christine. I'm so happy that you're tuning in today. Thank you. In this episode, I'm going to share the 3 main ways I'm approaching making this podcast. Beyond podcasting, these practices have been crucial to my success in business and make creating, sharing, and putting myself out there easier than they would be otherwise. So the 3 kind of practices or ways of thinking and approaches to podcasting, as well as creating more broadly, are number 1, ready is a mirage. Number 2, imperfection is more than okay. It's human and beautiful. And 3, if it helps one person, even if that person is me, it's worth it. So I'll talk a little bit more about each of those. So first of all, ready is a mirage. What I mean is, a lot of times when people want to get started on something or have an idea, they think oh, I need to have, for example, in business. Well, I'm not going to tell people that I'm starting my business until I have the perfect website or I have my business cards or whatever. With podcasting, it could be oh, I need, everything. This kind of gets into number 2. Everything needs to be perfect. I have to have the right microphone, and I need to have introduction music, and I need to have sponsors lined up. I don't know. We could think of a million things that we need to do to feel ready. Or maybe there's something more well, I need to take this course before I could consider myself ready. And so something that I've learned is that ready is a mirage. It's always over there. And then as you get closer to it, you find it's not there if you keep putting it off. It's just important to get started. Just get started. What tiny thing can you do today to move you toward your goal? And I do have a microphone. That pause there was me realizing that my microphone, I don't think it was on, but I had another one picking it up. So it'll be interesting to see what the sound quality difference is between them. And I was starting to say, so I do have a microphone. I spent a little bit of time looking at what could be a decent quality microphone, and I spent $100 on it. You could do that. You could buy one that's way more expensive, or you can use what you have. And while I'm talking about microphones, this could be applied to any number of things. Some of my favorite podcasts are recorded as people are walking. They're literally like voice memos, walking, recording to their phone. You can start with what you have, and that's okay. And I mostly am using what I have. I did get some editing software, but not, nothing too expensive. I'm using my laptop. I'm using the office that I have. And that is still more produced than is necessary, but it's just kind of the right level. Now, of course, I also listen to podcasts that are highly produced and sound great all the time. That's awesome. And different people have different tolerances for it. But like I said, I will listen to someone who is recording on their phone if I like what they have to say and if they're speaking to me. I think that's just one example of how you can just get started. Get started with what you have, the resources you have, and go from there. It doesn't need to be the perfect setup, ready is a mirage. And usually you might keep moving the goalpost. So, number 2, imperfection is more than okay. It's human and beautiful. I listened to the Financial Feminist podcast, or her first 100K with Tori Dunlap, a lot. And she's doing some work right now about how to get your business started and things like that. I think she has a course coming up on that. And one of the things that she's been saying a lot, which resonates with me, is done is better than perfect. And I know that have I have perfectionist tendencies. I was going to say I've been socialized to strive for perfection in many ways. And also, I think, to look good, to not show errors. But I'm embracing my imperfection. And I've been practicing this a lot. Even, just thinking about putting myself out there on social media, sharing what I offer. One challenge that I've really liked and used, I think I've only done it once fully, but I've really taken the idea behind it, is the garbage. Speaking of imperfection, the garbage post challenge. This is a coach, Simone Soul, introduced this challenge where it's basically, so I'll tell you the parameters and then what it's about. The parameters are, you post anything on social media, whatever channels you use. You could even do it as a communication to people. It could be emails, whatever, but she's mainly focused on social media here. And you post 100 times within 30 days. So over 3 times a day on average. It doesn't have to be the same number. You could do it, knock it all out in one day. Though I think that would be a little overkill. So spreading it out over 30 days, you post 100 times, and just a minimum of 1 word in English or whatever language you speak is the requirement. So it's your thoughts or your commentary on anything. It could be the silliest meme. It doesn't have to be business related, or if you're creating something, it doesn't have to be the thing you're creating or writing. It's just a practice of sharing kind of what's on your mind, putting it out there. And there's a lot behind it in terms of just getting into the practice of sharing, letting your nervous system get used to that kind of sharing and exposure. And also, it can be light and imperfect. You don't need to spend hours crafting the perfect post. So I found that really valuable. And the times that I have done it, I don't rely heavily on social media for my business, but the times that I have done that, people have seen, like if I do post about the fact that I'm a coach or share about some facilitation that I've done. Usually I do that on LinkedIn, but I have found that when I do that, people are like, oh yeah, I could hire her for that thing. Or like, oh yeah, it sparks a conversation. So it certainly is helpful in my goals. And also, it's just gotten me a lot more comfortable with not having everything I put out there be like me expecting it to be perfect. It also, when you post on social media that much, some things are going to get reactions, some things aren't. That's okay. One, you kind of learn in that process for sure what's resonating with people. But two, you get, again, like desensitized to it's like, it's okay. You don't have to sit around and like check each post and it's not precious. And I've taken kind of the spirit of that too into my email list, which I write emails from my inner wise self to you. And I do not spend a ton of time when I write them. I do proofread them once or twice, but definitely typos slip through. And that's really hard for me because in a past life, I was an editor of my school newspaper when I was young, middle school and high school, and an editor of a feminist magazine, editor of academic journals. So definitely some strong editing tendencies and preferences in my life and experience, but also I think it's okay to let a typo through, and letting go of perfection has been very freeing and it allows me to create more. And so that's how I'm approaching this podcast too, is like it doesn't need to be perfect. I'm not going to heavily edit things. I am going to just share what I create and make it as easy as I can for myself to create and to share and to connect with you. And if you want something highly produced and perfect, this isn't it, and that's okay. I know that there are people out there who this is totally their jam, and other people who are going to be like, no, not for me. I think another reason why this has become more comfortable for me is because I use the Marco Polo app with one of my good friends, Emily, who lives in Oregon. Shout out to Emily. And she introduced me to this video chatting app, and her and I trade messages at least a few times a week. And there you're like literally looking at yourself while you're recording. And also, I'm looking at her as she's sharing with me, and we're both like, oh, what's going on with our hair today? And whatever. But like, it's not even about that. It's like, it's so beautiful to see my friend. It's so beautiful to see her while she's waiting, to pick up her daughter, and she's in the car waiting outside an appointment, or she's walking around the back of her farm, getting her steps in. And I love that. And we just get on and we just share what's on our mind. And so, initially I was going to do this podcast audio only because I didn't want to have to look a certain way or be ready in a certain way to record. And then I just decided, because I do know that if you have video on YouTube, which is one of the places I'm posting, people are more likely to listen or watch if they see a picture instead of just, or see a video instead of just, the general like podcast cover or whatever. So I just decided, okay, I'm going to record myself. I'm going to do video when I can, when it makes sense. But I'm going to let myself look the way I look and not put a lot of thought into it. Sure, I'll give my hair a glance over or like put on a decent top or whatnot. But I'm not gonna, I don't wear makeup very often. I'm not gonna do that. The lighting is like whatever right now. So I'm just doing it. Here I am. I'm imperfect and it's human and it's beautiful. So moving on to number 3. If it helps one person, even if that person is me, it's worth it. And I mean, I think that is especially right now for me, like writing and podcasting. Of course, in my business, doing coaching and organizational consulting, I want to help more than just myself. And sometimes I do help myself through my work beyond just getting paid for my work. But some of the coaching work that I do with people is incredibly healing for me as well. But when it comes to this podcast, I was getting some coaching from Sam Garcia, who is a coach, and she does a lot of work around marketing and a lot more than that. But her advice around this was if it helps one person, it's worth it. And for me, I inserted that even if that person is me for this podcast, because I've been feeling like I haven't been writing. Well, I haven't been writing the way that I would like to. I have a lot of thoughts, as I said, even in the trailer to this podcast. I have a lot of things on my mind, and I want to write, and I want to share, and I want to process things as well, even if it's, again, just for me. I think there's value in that, and that's part of how I'm approaching this podcast too, is like, yes, I want you to listen. I want lots of people to listen. I want you to share it with people. But right now, this is also a practice for me. And I think about the lamppost metaphor that I read about early in my coaching journey, and it's in this book, The Prosperous Coach by Chandler and Litvin. And I think it was taught to them by Michael Neal. I'm trying to see which of them wrote this part. I think both of them did. I guess this is by Steve. But he says, this person shared with him, Michael Neal shared with him the lamppost metaphor. The idea is that, so for coaches, a lot of times coaches, we might get in our head about the value that we provide to our clients, or if we're kind of doing enough to support them. And there is real skill in coaching. I've learned a lot in the 9-month training that I took that's really valuable. And one of the most important things about being a coach is your presence and holding what we call the container, holding space for the client or the coach partner. And you don't have to do a ton for it to be valuable. What is most valuable, another key coaching skill is really that presence, and then also asking empowering questions and deep listening. And there's something that is valuable just in the person saying something out loud. And I can't count how many times a client has said to me, I don't think I've ever said that out loud. Or I've asked a question to them that prompted them to say something that was a new realization for them. So anyway, the lamppost metaphor, though, is the idea is that even talking to a lamppost would be good for a person. And Steve writes, let's say a person leaves his place of business every evening and walks over to a lamppost and speaks to it. Maybe he vents. Maybe he talks about the problems of the day and about opportunities for tomorrow and areas where he can make improvements. It's just a lamppost sitting there. But if he returned to that lamppost every evening and shared his successes and challenges of the day and his goals and dreams for the next day, even that would make his life better, would help create a better person. Even talking to a lamppost every evening would be beneficial to a person. And then he goes on to say, so your clients would get value if you just showed up. And then, but as a coach, you bring an entire world beyond a simple lamp post. So right now I am I'm being my own lamppost, or, this microphone is like the thing where I'm going to process things, express things, and there's value in that. And I also hope, dear listener, that there's value in you listening to, not just oh, there goes Christine just rambling to herself again. But I hope there's some value to it, whether it's a little nugget that you're going to take into your life, whether you got a chuckle, just whatever it is. I hope that there is something there for you as well. I was thinking about, as I was thinking about the value that I hope that you're getting from it as well, I was thinking of Thich Nhat Hanh, a Zen Buddhist who I've learned a lot from. And I was thinking about how kind of part of his teachings are about what we take in, what we listen to, what we watch, how that becomes part of our store consciousness. But it becomes this kind of background in our lives, even if we're not necessarily aware of its impact on us. And I was remembering when my grandma Amy was dying, I was in Arkansas visiting a friend at the time when I got the call, hey, you should come to Oregon. Grandma's in the hospital and it's important for you to come. She may not make it through or she's dying. And so I cut my trip short. And as I was getting ready to leave, stopped by a store and I just had this feeling I should buy some essential oil and some orange in particular. And I had this feeling of orange being a happy scent. And I bought it, and when I was there with my grandma Amy, I took it out and had her smell it, and I remember her just kind of taking it in and having a joyful response to that. And I remember also using it to massage her hands and feet. I had some jojoba oil and did that. And I didn't know why I did that, but I just had this feeling that would be important and helpful to do, and just to get that essential oil. Anyway, later I reread a book by Thich Nhat Hanh, and I'm blanking on which book it was. It's a little one. I think it's something like Hope for a New Planet. I'll find it and link it in the show notes. But I was rereading it. I had read it before, and it talked about how to be with the dying, and it talked about massage and massaging their hands and feet, and because the people's extremities tend to lose circulation, and I want to say there was something in there too about bringing in a happy scent, but I could just be making that up. I could be misremembering, but I do remember rereading the book and being oh my goodness, this is how I knew what to do. I didn't consciously remember reading this before, but it was there in my store consciousness. So long story short, I hope that some of what you hear here makes its way into your consciousness in a positive way, whether you're thinking about it or not. And I really do appreciate you listening and being witnessing myself being a lamp post for myself. But also I hope this is helpful for you too. So those are the 3 things that are shaping how I am approaching podcasting right now. Ready as a Mirage imperfection is more than okay. It's human and beautiful. And if it helps one person, even if that person is me, it's worth it. So I hope that there's something there that you can take forward too, that will help it be easier for you to create, to share, to put yourself out there however you want to. Whatever your goals are right now in this moment, I hope that there's something in here that can help you move that forward. And I will say I am learning a lot in this process. And moreover, I'm about to celebrate 2 years being all in on my coaching and consulting business. And so I'll be sharing more, about what I'm learning in this process. And I have some notes here, so I'm like, should I share them right now? Yeah, I'll share a little bit, but first a drink of water. So the other things I'm learning right now are balancing confidence of what I already know and have to offer with my love of learning. I feel like I'm insatiable when it comes to different courses on learning, and I'll talk about it later, but I'll be starting a course on conflict mediation through Harvard Law School program on negotiation. I start that next week at the time of recording. This will come out a little bit later. So I'm like, okay, I think this is part of the just getting started piece too, is I want to encourage you, if you're listening, you don't need all the credentials. Just because I have a PhD or I'm taking this mediation course from Harvard or I take all these other things, I think it's important to balance confidence of what you already know, and your real world and life experience and what you have to offer, and then think about learning as what would be joyful for you. And this is an imperfect balance for me, but it's something that I'm learning. And speaking of learning as I go, it comes from doing. And I'm letting my business and my life evolve. And this is the only life that I know of, that I'm conscious of, that I've lived. So expecting that I'm going to be learning, and in business, again, not having everything figured out, but letting it build on top of the last thing that I did and kind of iterating and learning. All of that has been rewarding, and it's what I'm doing. And just really being mindful of my yeses and my nos and allowing for joy. So I'll probably unpack more of that in future episodes, but this feels good right now. So as I wrap up, I'd love to ask you to reflect on, what are you creating, or what do you want to create? And what's one tiny, imperfect next step you can take to bring it to fruition? Thank you so much for listening. If you want to hear more of the Resourced and Resourceful Leadership podcast, please follow or subscribe to the show wherever you like to listen or watch your podcasts. To support the show, please leave a 5-star review and share the show with a few people who you think would appreciate it. I have also added a feature through SpeakPipe where you can send a voice message to me with your thoughts on the show or topics you'd like me to cover, and I would love to hear from you. So you can access that through the link in the show notes. Thank you again, and take good care.